thanks for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Philipp. I'm the head of business development at Rasa. And for those of you who don't know Rasa, we are an open source platform for conversational AI. And we are building tools for developers to build conversational software. We have two main modules, which is Rasa NLU, natural language understanding, and machine learning-based dialogue management. But enough about me. I'm here to introduce the panel. I'm happy to be the moderator of the panel, and I'm here with awesome panelists. And the topic of today is chatbots in production. So we have a learning sharing session, and yeah, as Michael Fertig pointed out earlier today, it's all about dialogues. So what are the learnings of today's chatbots, and are there more regarding more than simple FAQ chatbots? So yeah, let me introduce you. So we have here Nathaniel Kohn from Citi bank, and we have Shai Wininger from Lemonade. We have Maxim Markert from UBS and Arjun Patel from HSBC. So maybe go ahead, guys, and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your bot you have built or like your experience in this space.
Okay, so thank you for the introduction. My name is Nathaniel. I'm from the Citi Innovation Lab here in Tel Aviv. I'm a technology leader, and I'm part of the AI group, the artificial intelligence. We are leading an activity in smart interactions. We are looking to better the interaction with our customers, to allow them to interact with us in a more natural manner. For that matter, natural language interfaces. And more specifically about me, I have experience in various domains in computer science, and more specifically in dialogue systems and in NLP.
Cool. Perfect.
It turns out we know each other from way back.
Yeah.
We just
okay.
just realized we know each other. So
okay.
that's really cool.
Cool. Yeah, Shai, go ahead.
So Shai Wininger from Lemonade. We have built a full-stack insurance company currently in the US. The company is entirely based on technology. So about 15 months ago, we launched basically the first insurance to run completely on bots and AI. So there's not a single policy in our growing portfolio, I think beyond 100,000 policies this year, that was sold not through AI, not through bots, which is pretty awesome if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's an entire company that was designed for automation. So if you follow some of the articles that we post from time to time, we do a lot of research and development around automating the organization itself, not only the customer experience, but also the back-end efficiency. We can talk a little bit about that. I think it's a very interesting field. And we're now beginning to look into new markets beyond the US, and that's going to be part of our challenges throughout 2018.
Cool.
Oh, you don't have a mic.
I'm the only one without. My name is Maxim Markert. I'm from UBS Switzerland, where I work as a product manager, and I'm in charge of digitization and new channels, specifically for our lending products. What we have done is build a chatbot for proof of concept, so it ran purely internally. And obviously, I'm just representing our Swiss retail branches here, as the bank has many chatbot projects all over the globe. So it's a purely experimental stage at this point.
Hi, I'm Arjun Patel. I work at HSBC. So I lead product globally for digital contact center tools. Our objectives are to have more conversations with customers, make banking more conversational. But to do that, we need to be able to deal with that scale more efficiently. And therefore, we need to start automating a lot of those conversations. So conversational banking is high on our agenda for this year. We've done a few POCs. We're looking to deploy something in the UK this year, first half of this year, and then build a sort of strategic framework that we can deploy easily in new markets, so scaling bots very effectively. It's a big challenge for us.
Yeah. And maybe Arjun, you can start. Why did HSBC or you guys invest in chatbots? Why do you think it's relevant?
There's two angles to this. There's the business angle. We have over 25,000 contact center staff globally, which is a huge cost. And we do not treat those staff very well, and we do not treat customers very well with customer service at times. So I'm interested in both staff-facing tools as well as customer-facing bots. The main focus, I mean, the sexy stuff is in the customer-facing space, so we're looking to target that first. But not only do we want to improve customer satisfaction, but we also want to, I guess, cost save in the contact center as well. So those are kind of the two angles that we came into this with. The business is interested in one thing more than the other, probably.
Yeah, maybe Maxim, you can. Yeah, what's your view on this?
Yeah, it's mostly the same. It's a cost saving on one side, of course, in customer service, as you said. Then also customer service levels. In principle, Switzerland is a very expensive place to run a call center. So obviously we have off times, especially during the weekend, when a lot of people are looking at mortgages. And it would be great to have some support for them there. But also for additional profits. So the hypothesis is that if we could train a bot or an AI channel to give better advice or recommendations, we could actually sell more or upsell products or make people aware of other products. Yeah.
And Shai, maybe, bots are a core product of yours, so why do you think it's important?
Well, first, it's cool. But, I think that specifically for financial organizations, and I don't know if this is planned or by chance, we're all financial organizations, we sell complex products. And these are products that for hundreds of years were sold by people to people. And now we come to an age where, we suddenly want to, jump on the bandwagon and join the rest of the industry where things become direct to consumer, things become digital and automated, but that's not a simple jump. It's not a simple jump because you have to make the mind shift for the consumer. It's not even technological. It's a perception problem. It's a problem of trust, right? You want to go to the bank and get a loan. You sit with someone and you want to trust that person. If you don't trust that person, you're not going to go ahead and make that decision. And now you're faced with an app, and you have an app in your hand, and you need to make the decision yourself. So suddenly we put the responsibility of important decisions in the hand of the customers. And I don't think customers really want that. I think we want to say that we want that, but we don't really want that, right? If you think about air travel, I think it has gone through the same thing, right? Everybody was super excited about the ability to buy tickets online and get flights and cheap flights, and whenever, if you're in the cheap flights industry, that's fine. But if you want to have a dependable experience and make sure that you are going to get that flight and you are going to go on that airplane in time, I think people kind of tend to worry a little bit, and when bad things happen, then it's a problem, because you used to go through this onboarding experience, which was really smooth. They got you, they converted you as a user, but then comes the actual, the challenge where you need to actually maintain that customer. So going back to financial organizations, I think that we have a much bigger problem where we have to combine the challenge of trust, but also, the maintenance of the ongoing product. In our case, in insurance, people used to buy insurance from agents, from brokers. They still do, actually, and not everybody is using Lemonade still. But I think that's going to change dramatically. And the decision to go for a bot was kind of, creating a smooth transition between the old school kind of way of doing things, where you would converse with a human, to the extreme opposite, where you fill a form, or you open an app and just tick a few check boxes. I think people are not there yet, and the conversational UI and bots are a great middle ground between the old world and the new world. And I actually think that there's a good chance we'll stop there, and we're not going to cross to the next phase, because the experience has proven to be so dramatically better than everything else. It converts better, people love it, they trust it, and they just use the product.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so I think in every business, when you can show an ROI, a return of investment, you can put the machine in the loop, right? In every place that you can put the machine to do the person job, the employee job, and then put back the human in the loop in the right time, and you can save manpower. So there is a place for that technology, right? But we are talking about chatbots, and chatbots are it's like a big word, like it's a buzzword, right? There are so many different kind of bots that you can think of. If you want to support, if you think about one end of the scale, and we were talking about that earlier, if you are looking at one end of the scale and you want to have a bot that can do everything, that can understand everything, it's almost like AI complete in a sense, right? It should be able to pass the Turing test. It's like it should be able to reason on top of knowledge base. It should be able to understand language, to completely understand language. And then it would be able to scope the world, right? To help the user with any kind of problem out there. But then again, you have the other end of the scale, like the very, very basic of the chatbot that you can see in websites, that you have clickable predefined questions, and then you have predefined answers to that, and you have to find the way in between. Where do you want to invest your efforts and your research time, and to build the POC there, and then show the investor or the business that invests in you the return of value or the added value that you can get with the bot. Yeah.
So usability is a really big issue then. If you have just the clicking bots, then it feels quite dumb, right? So artificial intelligence or machine learning models need to be in place in order to make it really intelligent and human-like, no? Or what would you say?
Yeah, actually, you want to make it as intelligent as possible, but you need to be very careful when you are doing so, especially when you go to production. If you are working on a POC, everything goes, right? You can use, it's like a jungle. You can do whatever you want. You don't need to care too much about licensing. You need to take care of it if you're part of an enterprise, and you need to work according to the license that the software library allows you to have. But generally, you don't need to care about license because you're not going to use it commercially. But if you are going to production, there are many things to take care of, especially when you try to be sophisticated. Right? If you try to be sophisticated, you need to make sure that you gain that target. Because sometimes you think that you are sophisticated and you want to do it because you want to show the value, you want to have a great product. But sometimes you think that you are going to be sophisticated, but you end up being foolish or being out there with a low quality product. And I give an example from a little story that I have. Let's say that you have a bot that does several tasks around the house, and for that matter, scanning objects, right? So you can say to the bot, scan the bottle. Okay, so you have a full dialogue system on top of that, and you have the speech recognition, and then the NLP engine, and then you get the NLU, understands exactly what happens. You get the structured information out of the NLP engine, and then you have a dialogue system. And you have a choice whether to say, okay, where is the object? Because it can't see it. Let's say the robot can't see the object. So you can say, where is the object? And every single time, this is the prompt that you're going to go out to the user. But then you want to be sophisticated, and you say, okay, I'm not going to say object. I'm going to ask specifically about the object that the user asked me to go scan. So you end up saying, like, instead of where's the object that you want to scan, I'm going to say, the bot is going to say, where is the bottle that you want to scan, right? But then you have to take into account what happens if the speech recognition system has low quality, or for that matter, in that specific scenario, the output is birthday and not bottle. So you're going to say, where's the birthday? So you end up being foolish, right? So you need to be very, very careful when you add more and more capabilities to the bot. So my suggestion is to start small, like in the agile, approach. Start with something small that works. I think that Michael earlier said that. Go with high quality, make it work, gain trust. If the user loses trust in your product, so you lose them forever, right? So it's like it's like applications in smartphones. If the user loses the trust, he won't use the application ever again. So you have to gain the trust of the user, and then later on add another layer and another layer to add capabilities to the product. And sorry about taking the time, but another challenge here is in finance organization is the data. We have sensitive data, so we have to have on-premise solutions, right? We can't use, even for POC purposes, we can't use API AI or Dialogflow or with AI or LUIS. We can't use them because we can't send our data to the cloud.
Okay. Maybe, some banking clients say, what is your perspective on data?
I think from a UX point of view, I totally agree. There's some really low-hanging fruits, and we don't need to do really intelligent things. We should think a lot about customer experience, though, and we can do a lot of testing of that. We've tried to not focus on looking at really detailed, complex use cases. There are a lot of simple ones that we can understand a lot from customers. But we're kind of all in this together because one of us builds a good bot that kind of improves customer perception on how we feel like we can work with bots. And actually, there's lots that we can do, which doesn't mean that we're having to wow the customer at every level. So I would definitely say for us, we've chosen to focus quite narrow on use cases. And then we'll learn from that and we'll grow those. One of the things I'm really interested in finding out more today is how do we, at scale, grow lots of bots very quickly, and how do we scale them across different markets where the customer needs are very similar, but actually the conversation might be slightly different, or there might be slight alterations that need to be made. I haven't seen at scale this being done, and that's something that we want to target.
Yeah, Maxim, maybe you can also ask something about data privacy and.
Yeah, so first of all, for the use cases, it's the same here. I mean, we tried with you guys to do some complex stuff, and that's definitely not the way we learned to go. So we will focus on something very basic and simple going forward. Now, data privacy for us, of course, is a huge challenge. Hence why we are looking for systems that we can use on premise and on premise only. So when we spoke a lot about voice assistance here. For us, that's from my perspective, that's a huge challenge because Amazon and Google currently are storing the voice files. That's like a fingerprint. Each voice is unique, and if those guys get a gag order and some let's say raiding by the NSA, then there's all your privacy gone. And for us as a bank, with very sensitive information, client data, that's an absolute no-go. So what we are actually still looking for is a really good on-prem solution.
I would agree with that as well. We're kind of the same. So the NLP, we're hoping to sit outside of the dialogue management. So we're not sending, for example, that information to Google. We're basically doing the decisioning in-house, on-prem. And then that way, we're not actually exposing any customer data. Privacy is also a massive concern, obviously, to us, which is why we've chosen simple use cases at first. Yeah. But it is something that we need to target, and we're looking very heavily into doing that in the UK this year.
Yeah, maybe just one more comment about this. I think that there's a common mistake in the way that companies look at bots in general. There's confusion between NLP and AI or general AI and bots. These are two different things. One is a substrate, one is a layer, and the other one is a more functional level. And I don't think the two have to live together. And when you guys try to solve complex cases, I'm sure that's where things break. AI is not general yet. It's not yet. It's not where we want it to be. NLP is complex, specifically for financial organizations. You cannot afford getting things wrong. But I do think it has to do with the combination of, expectation management and UX, and figuring out what's the fallback of things. So letting the customer understand that you try to understand what they were saying, but if not, then no harm done. It's going to fall back to a human who's going to take care of this. And the reason I say managing expectations is that there's an opt-in and opt-out approach here, right? So Siri is an opt-in approach. It's really bad. I hate Siri. I can't use this. And it keeps reminding me why, what people can feel when they use the wrong bot or bad UI experience, AI experience. It's really frustrating. You feel like an idiot. You feel like an idiot even trying to use Siri when it doesn't work, right? Because the general AI is not there yet. But what if Siri would have been used for very specific cases? So for example, you want to set the volume of your device, and you are in the control panels, and you are already in the volume, then from the expectation management perspective, people will only say things that are relevant for that context. And creating this context and blending the UX and the AI, I think is kind of the holy grail that we came across. The second thing I wanted to say is that from an AI perspective, in many cases, there's the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the cases you can solve with 20% of the complexity, or the other way around, whatever you want to look at it. So there's 80% of the cases are very simple things, and they take a lot of time, and you can't, I don't think it's wise to waste a lot of time trying to solve the edge cases. There are so many edge cases, but most of the time we spend on simple things, and that's where AI and automation in general can really come in and help companies scale. You mentioned scale. I think that customer service is one of the the biggest wins of potential wins of AI for organizations like yours.
Yeah. So Shai, how would you say your use cases in your bots? Is it more like deep dialogues or more like FAQ style kind of simple question answers?
Yeah. So I think it's a combination of both. There's the onboarding. So let's look at it from a different perspective. What do you want to achieve? So if you want to solve for conversion, I think that general AI, or not general AI, but open NLP is not a good solution. There's so many different things that could happen, and it goes out of your control. You can't optimize for it. People will not convert with natural language. I don't see that happening in the near future. In that scenario, what we do is most of our flows are kind of pre-scripted, but they're a combination of things. So we use pre-script for planning the user's journey very carefully. But when they come across a certain point where we need to have that open question, then we collect it and we use NLP and things like that. But then you continue and you move on the funnel using a pre-scripted. So that's where you convert to, you optimize for conversion. On the customer experience side, on the customer care side, you don't know what you're going to get. And it's already a customer. You don't have to optimize for conversion. There, you want to optimize for efficiency. And when you optimize for efficiency, you want to try to reduce the amount, for example, in our case, the time that people spend with getting help, or the number of tickets that our customer care people get. And in this scenario, it has to be open-ended, because otherwise, there's an endless list of things that people can look for, and it's just not going to be visible viable from the UX perspective.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm wondering if this is like a hint, or is it a problem with electricity? What do you think?
Maybe Maxim, you can also talk about like the FAQ versus deeper dialogues question.
Yeah, so we actually started off like I guess so many corporates did, trying to build a FAQ into the chatbot, and that was not the greatest experience, because it's always question answer, and that's not a typical way you have a conversation. Obviously, you have a question, then you have a follow-up question, then you understand a bit better as a user, and then you have another question, and you would like to have that specific to your case, and so on. So FAQs didn't work that well for us, and my guess is that having a really decent web search engine would solve that problem much better than a chatbot. Where we had a good experience, or what we feel actually works quite well, is the so-called deep dives. So we looked at a few cases, actually 2 cases, where people could say, okay, I'm looking at buying, for instance, a flat, and then the bot would say, okay, great, there are certain rules you need to follow, just some FYI, and let's see whether you can afford that or not. And then it's a slot filling exercise. It goes back and forth, back and forth. We managed to get a custom-made graph as an output as well, and a follow-up question, to talk to an agent or to set up an appointment and stuff like that. That worked actually quite nicely, and that felt like a conversation and like an added value. Now, and another learning we made in the whole project was, of course, we invested way too little into the user research and UX side. And what we took away from that is you need to really understand very well what does your user actually, what is he willing or she willing to ask when they come to your, in our case, e-banking or web page. So that's a critical thing. Because we thought about all the things that people would ask, tested that internally, people would never ask that question, and of course that's just waste.
I think for us it was a little bit different because we have millions of chat transcripts, so we know why people are contacting us. And actually looking at a lot of those, you see how odd the conversations are. And if we were just to start from scratch and think, we understand why customers want to speak with us, we'd never be able to design those conversational flows. And I think that became really apparent quickly. From a UX standpoint, we've spent a lot of time thinking about user testing, and we're doing some next week as well, just trying to understand small things. And I think that 7% rule was talked about by IBM yesterday. 93% of conversation is non-verbal, so it's things like cadence or tone of voice. And these are things that we're thinking a lot about because creating that personality is really important. But at the same time, we're a bank and we need to manage expectations differently to maybe an insurance company or maybe a non-financial institution. And that's something that we're thinking about a lot at the beginning.
Yeah. So we have 1 or 2 questions from the audience, if anyone wants to ask questions. No?
Not that interesting.
Not that interesting, apparently.
So in the meanwhile, I want to add something to that.
Yeah? Okay.
Can't see anything.
Oh, yeah.
This is a question for Shai, basically. You mentioned that you try to identify where you have a closed set of answers you can actually anticipate, meaning anticipating what the user should be answering. So from your perspective, you said that it's not about actually sales funnel or as the beginning of lead capturing, but more your product questions. What exactly do you use the chatbot functionality for? What is it?
So, of course, we do use it for onboarding customers, and the conversion that we're seeing is very high in comparison to any other technology that I've used in the past to sell things online. So this is the first part where people get to our product, they answer a bunch of questions. These are questions that are pre-defined as a graph, but this is a very smart graph because, in insurance and any financial organization, you know that there's a lot of regulation and there's a lot of different cases what you have to respond to and adapt the bot to. So it's not just like a linear thing that you go through and get to your quote or whatever. So this is kind of a pre-scripted set of flows that people go through. We could do it in an open-ended way. I don't think that would be valuable. I think we'll lose on conversion dramatically. And also, there's something, and you mentioned this, there's something about the tone of voice and what type of personality you want your bot to have and how you want people to experience this, the flow in the conversation with that particular bot. It's really hard to do with open-ended questions. You have to, at least the establishing part, you have to do with a pre-script. You have to, there's so many, small nuances in the way that you construct language. that you have to do it that way. The second part is once you become a customer, then there's a bunch of things that you can do. So in our scenario, I guess every company has a different set of needs, but in our case, you want to add stuff, right? You bought a new camera, you want to add it to your insurance. You're moving from your home to a new home, you want to change the address. You want to ask a general question about, flying, moving abroad or getting anything added to your insurance. These are open-ended questions, and the thing I like about the way that we treat those is that it's not questions and answers. We actually focus only on question and actions. So you say, hey, how do I add my wife to the policy? And then our bot would say, hey, no problem, let's add your wife right now. What's her name? And then it'll say her name, and then the bot would say, oh, cool, is that the right name? Yeah, boom, done. Just sent you a new policy with your wife's name on it, right? So there's something in the way that you construct language that can either infuse trust in a process or take it away from it, and that's one of the things that we're really investing a lot of work into. So scripted on one side, non-scripted on the other, really based on the need.
Cool. Yeah, maybe as closing remarks, because I see the time is up, maybe you can tell us what are the exact technology steps to take for the next evolution of bots, basically, or what are the next concrete steps you would take in your organization?
Yeah, actually, as we can see for now, AI or deep learning and machine learning are taking over. Mm-hmm. And related to other stuff that the guy said here, managing the dialogue state is something that is very complicated. Mm-hmm. Things are getting complicated pretty fast, and it's like exponential. Yeah. So when you try to manage a decision tree or the state machine inside the dialogue, whether if it's linear, that you have slot fulfillment, and whether you go nonlinear to a different kind of context, and then handling the slot fulfillment there, and then follow up again to the same context. So these challenges are huge, and I think that LSTM, sequence models and stuff like that, things similar to what you are doing in terms of managing the dialogue state would take over, because now we are scoping our bots into different domains. You know, if you are working with pizza ordering app or a chatbot, so you are sticking to ordering pizza, not ordering all the things in the world and stuff like that. And every time that you want your bot to be in high quality, you need to scope it. Mm-hmm. And manage the dialogue state there. It's pretty maintainable. But if you are going to, support all the things in the world, like open questions, like people said here, like the guy said here, you want to be able to have a lot of data, to learn from the data, like us, like we learn from our experience, and then let the machine answer upon experience, and not based to according to rule base and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think this is the next evolution.
Cool. Yeah. Shai?
So we have just 1 minute, guys. Okay.
One minute.
Yeah. So I'd like to provide hopefully a little bit of value for the startups sitting here. I think there's less big companies and more startups, I assume. I think that bots are just another kind of view that we need to look at it as a kind of a view model, a display model on top of the data and functionality we build in our apps. So when you go to your next bot project, I would urge you not to design and think about it as a bot infrastructure rather than something that is more generic that can have many heads. It's like a headless type of functionality that you can, the way we originally thought about APIs, right? So the functionality is there, but it can be either displayed in a form or a bot or a dialogue or whatever it is. It's not important, because one of the things that we discovered is that bots are great for a certain type of user, certain type of user level, but at some point where the user becomes more advanced and they want to get to stuff really quick and they really control the product, they can just go and and hit a button or mark a checkbox, and that's it. And we save them like, you know, a minute of their life, not asking questions like a dumb bot.
Yeah.
So I think that that's like a dramatic part. The second one I'd like to say is that we need a lot more NLP, intent extraction, and entity classification, actually the other way around, companies in the world. There's not enough going on there. Amazon or Google and IBM are kind of leading the way, but I think they're very far from where companies like us need products like that to be, and hopefully that will change in the next few years.